to Vasquez.
Freshman Queen who's driving, floats it.
And here comes the message on the floor. Here with 2 seconds. Here it goes for the win.
What is up, Terps fans? My favorite time of the year to come to you. A Maryland win right before conference play. Love this. I'm going to make the first couple minutes of this episode about me, so sorry in advance. This was a near perfect night for me at a Maryland game. Terps obviously win. They play well. You see it in the episode description here. If you didn't watch this one, they beat Old Dominion, which is great. We'll get into all of the stuff on the court here in a minute. My wife was at the game. One of my very good friends was in from LA, watched the game with her and her family, saw 2 of my other buddies. So shout out Lauren, Ryan, Mike's son Brooks. That was awesome. Got to just to see buddies and friends and hang out with my wife, which is always nice. And Lauren's whole family there as well was just cool. Just nice to catch up with people you haven't seen much in a long time. Also got to meet fellow Terps superfan Charlie Flug. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Flug, maybe. Charlie and his family were awesome and lovely, an adorable daughter, and got to just hang out with them for a few minutes while we waited in line in the cold, and that was much more pleasant talking to real diehard Terps fans. So hopefully they had a great time at the game here as well. We've talked a lot about the Maryland season being a little disappointing overall here and not what we'd all like in a vacuum, especially on the heels of a Sweet 16 run. Is bigger than basketball. I do appreciate rooting for a program that cares about more than just basketball. So shout out to Buzz for doing Buzz's Bunch, which they were supporting tonight as well. I had a lot of folks for Buzz's Bunch at the game. Buzz rocked the shirt. The team rocked the shirt in warm-ups. Go look that up if you're not familiar with what he's doing there. It's just an incredible program for him to help, have more inclusivity around basketball and just getting everybody involved in the game and making sure that basketball supports all members of the Terp community and their families and everything the way we want it to. It's really just kind of boils down to what we want this program to be about. And this team, I think, has still showed a lot of character and resilience, and they're fighting. Like, this is not the most talented Terps team, as we've talked about ad nauseum so far this year, and getting a little sick of doing it, obviously, just because I want this team to be so good and national championship good, and they're just not this year. But a lot of hard-playing dudes, and we saw that on display tonight. So just fun to watch good basketball. For Maryland team play good. I don't know that was good overall basketball, but Terps win. Good time was had by all. Pretty good crowd for being over the holidays like this, and the students not mostly being in town. I thought Xfinity Center was pretty loud, and I appreciated that. So I think that's a great sign for what Maryland has coming up. Next home game being against Oregon, which I will also be in the building for. Again, if you see me at one of these games, come say hey. Love meeting new Terps fans and checking in with everybody. So just cool moments for me personally tonight, and I enjoyed that. So, all right, enough about me. Let's get to the actual Terps product here. Maryland wins this one 73-58. Just a pretty clean game. Honestly, Maryland gets off to a crazy hot start. This game was over. They did not play with their food. We've accused them of that a few times here on the show throughout the year. They start off 17-0, and this one was basically just dead in the water from the first moment here, which is awesome to see the Terps just come out and say, nope, this isn't happening tonight. There's not going to be any doubt that this game is not going to be close at any point in time. And Old Dominion's not a great team. They moved to 4-8 on the season, 4-10 on the season. The Terps are 7-6, but they've been playing better basketball of late. If you listen to the preview, you mentioned some of those results, and this is a team that lost to Villanova by 14. Maryland ultimately beats them by 15, even after giving up some points late in this one after it was long decided. So selfishly, just love seeing the Terps do better than Villanova. So suck it, Kevin Willard, on that one. But let's just go through the guys to watch. I think there are plenty of people you can talk about in this one. Isaiah Watts got off to a super hot start. He had 17 points. It was by far his best game in a Terps uniform. Was 4 or 5 from 3-point range in the first half tonight, which is just awesome. And he got the start, and it must be a sign that he's finally settling in here and looking more like the player they expected him to look like when they brought him in out of the transfer portal, which is great. I think he's obviously got talent, and that's cool to see. Buzz Williams called him really smart and said he's able to take what I say to someone else and apply it to himself. So I think a smart, cerebral guy that's listening and just soaking all these things in, it's nice to see it pay off for him too. And he's got a track record as a shooter, so some shots were going to have to fall at some point. So it was great to see Isaiah Watts get the start and like reward the coaching staff for rewarding him for doing what they need him to do in practice. That's nice when that pays off for everybody involved. Darius Adams was really good in this one. Has 18 points, had 11 points in the first half, and the two of them together really just kind of just made this one a no-doubter from the start, which is great. Solomon Washington was awesome in this game, 13 points, 13 rebounds, and hit a bunch of free throws, which is also really cool, and we'll go back to the free throw shooting here in a minute, but he was just kind of locked down from the free throw line, although a couple of them did hit like every part of the rim and made us sweat it a little bit, not that they mattered a whole lot, but yeah, this was good. The ball movement was just terrific tonight. Terps have 14 assists. Probably not their best total of the year, but it's got to be near the top. Diggy Coit didn't need to score a lot tonight. He was in true distributor mode, and it's nice to see him take over when he has to, but it's also great that they didn't need it from him. But he does finish with 6 assists. That's great. I thought Andre Mills was really impressive in this one. He had 11 points in the game, but a career-high 5 assists. Felt like he was willing to make the extra pass. He also knocked down some shots and helped guys convert those assists, which was great to see. He's been a little up and down as a shooter, but just looked the part here tonight of a long-term piece for Maryland. So I'm just more excited about where he can go long-term. Had a couple really good defensive plays tonight too. He's just so mobile and he plays bigger than he is when he needs to. As soon as he continues to just bulk up and fill out, that's awesome. Go look up the Buzz's Munch t-shirts. That was really cool to see too. Just the Terps warm up in those, and Buzz Williams, who's known for being a savvy dresser, rock that. I think sent a pretty good message here from the Terps overall. Let's just run down some of the overall stat lines here for our guys. Again, Darius Adams, 6 of 16, so not the most efficient from the field, but 3 of 6 from 3, so that was great. Made 3 of his 4 free throws. I just love anytime we see him get to the line a handful of times, even 4. I would have liked to see more than that. The Terps 14 of 17 from the free throw line tonight, which is 82.5%, give or take, which, hey, we'll take that, right? Like, they probably could have gotten to the line more, but again, this game was kind of over really early, and just wasn't a need to foul a ton after a certain point here. So shout out to him for continuing to get to the line. He also had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, a steal. I thought he played just really well overall. So great game from Darius as the leading scorer in this one. Second leading scorer, already mentioned it, is Isaiah Watts. 17 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. It was 4 of 5 early, which is really good. Got to the line only one time there and made the one. Had 2 rebounds. Had 2 blocks as well, and one of them was pretty cool early. He played 28 minutes. It's probably a season high for him. Again, his best game as a Terp, and that's something they're going to need going into conference play. This team will have to make shots. They started off pretty hot. They finished 11 of 29, so that's 37.9%. I would like to see them not need quite as many 3-point attempts against an Old Dominion team that's not particularly good inside, especially with Kalen Swanton Roger, a name Terps fans are familiar with, getting into foul trouble early. But I'm not going to nitpick this one. We'll just absolutely take that one and keep it moving. The Terps, 20 points in the paint tonight. That was good enough to get the job done. And like we talked about it, this team just shoots mid-30s from 3. They're going to have a chance against a lot of teams if they continue to do those other things like rebound, which they were pretty good on the boards overall here tonight. They had 36 rebounds, 41 from Old Dominion, but honestly, they just missed a lot more shots too, so there were more things to rebound for them, and the Terps had a lot of shot attempts, so it happens. I don't think this was they looked better than Maryland on the glass kind of night, although Solomon Washington did do a lot of heavy lifting on the boards for this Terps team. As I mentioned, 13 points, 13 rebounds, was 4 of 8 from the field, missed his 1 3-pointer, but that's okay. 5 of 6 from the line. That was also impressive. I think not the greatest free throw shooter in the history of this Maryland program, so it's nice to see him just kind of calmly knock those down. Also had a block and a steal. Great. We'll take it. Just keep doing that. We need him to be a double-double machine come conference play. because he is really the best big man on this team without Pharrell Payne. Andre Mills, 4 of 10, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Great. The 3 rebounds were big. The 5 assists were big. 3 steals again tonight, too, and a block as well. Elijah Saunders, pretty solid game. Didn't need a ton from him. 7 points. Only 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, but had some good looks. I thought he moved the ball pretty well here, too. Doesn't get credit with an assist, but I thought he had a couple of hockey assists where he could have taken a shot and kept it moving. Had the 5 rebounds. Pretty solid. Had a steal tonight. Would love to see him get a block in a game like this where he was one of the bigger guys on the court, but getting beggars can't be choosers. Miles Rice, the only other name here that really did all that much from a contribution standpoint. 6 points, 2 of 6 from the field. Looked a little casual again to me. Again, keep nitpicking him because I have the highest expectations, or had the highest expectations for him coming in. 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Didn't really do much. Didn't turn the ball over, so we'll call that a win, I guess. If you go by plus minus, he was a -8, the second worst plus minus on the team, behind only George Turkson, who was a -14. George played 14 minutes tonight, scored 1 point, had 3 rebounds. Didn't really do anything else. Didn't even attempt a real field goal because he got fouled on his only actual shot attempt, which, hey, whatever. It happens. Alex Alston continues to not play much, which I thought after Vegas he would be somebody to find his way more in the rotation. He had 4 points tonight, 4 minutes tonight and 0 points. Colin Metcalf plays 3 more minutes. I already mentioned Diggy Coit briefly. Plays 20 minutes, was a +9 in this game. 0 of 2 from the field, just looking to get other guys involved. 6 assists, 2 turnovers. Really kind of it for him from this one. The Terps here tonight mentioned the 20 points in the paint, which is awesome. Couple points on turnovers, especially early in this game. It got them off to a good start. Had 12 overall for the game. They forced 13 turnovers. Only 7 bench points tonight. I would like to see that be a little better, but again, kind of nitpicking here. I think for the most part, pretty clean game for Maryland, and I'd take a few more like that over the course of the year. Hey, let's see if they can repeat some of these things again against Oregon in their next game, which is Friday. Let me just double check what time, because I have been apparently saying some things wrong, like in the preview where I apparently said Andrew Wiggins when I meant Aaron Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins' little brother, pretty good in this one. All right, so the Terps play on January 2nd. That's Friday at 7:30 p.m. in College Park. Again, I will be at that game. If you see me, come say hey. Always like checking in with you guys. From Andrew Potash, 3,300. Thoughts on whether it makes sense to try and get a red shirt for Payne? It really just depends on how bad the injury is. I think if there is a decent amount of paperwork you've got to submit from an NCAA tournament or NCAA waiver perspective, so you have to have a real injury to claim, since we don't know what that is because it's a state secret. It's hard to say if they thought they could get a real medical red shirt for him. But I think they'll definitely consider it. I think anything's going to be on the table for them. I don't think this group thinks of this thing as a lost season. I think everything you hear from Buzz Williams is that they're finally starting to click and round into form, and they're practicing enough, and guys are healthy enough for them to really like get the way they want to play and fit into the style. So I think if they can get him back in a reasonable amount of time here, I assume they will try to do it. If you're Pharrell Payne, that's really the question you got to ask yourself. Is it worth it for you to rush back from an injury potentially for a second time? You have to wonder if the second injury is at all a carryover from the first one or coming back too soon. You see a lot of those lower body injuries sort of cascade into one another with the whole kinetic chain thing going on here, where one thing isn't fully healed, so it puts strain somewhere else. And if I remember correctly, the injury in the Michigan game looked like a non-contact injury, so could have been something related or could have had nothing to do with it. By all accounts, he's walking around fine on campus without a brace or the need for a cast or a crutch or a boot or any of those things. So my gut is he's probably back sooner rather than later. I think they will definitely need him against Oregon. Oregon big man Nate Biddle is tough. He looks like he's 42 years old. He's a big boy, and I don't think Solomon Washington or Elijah Saunders by themselves are going to be enough to neutralize him. So we'll save that for the preview of the Oregon game. But hey, great question. Appreciate you asking it. I think everything is on the table here, and it would make sense from a Maryland fan perspective of, hey, putting him next to Baba and some of these other guys. Adama Tambadou is killing it right now for his high school. Like, they could have a really imposing front court next year, and plus the growth that some of these guards could make, like Adams and Mills. You're starting to see a little bit of flashes here and there, plus another big time guard in the portal. Like, they could really jumpstart things next year. So I personally would love to see Pharrell Payne on whatever next year's group looks like. But also, I'm not ready to give up on this season and just see if they can make a little bit of noise and at least, hold our Maryland pride at the forefront of what they do here and continue to push for things. So we'll see how it goes. If anybody's watching this and you have more questions in the chat, feel free to drop them in. Just comments. Love to hear those and drop them throughout the show here. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button for us. Always appreciate that kind of stuff. As we go, let's just talk Old Dominion here for a minute. Shaw, leading scorer for them, 19 points, 7 of 17 from the field. Zach Wiggins, second leading scorer. The other guy with some ties to the Maryland program here, other than Kalen Swanton-Roger. Wiggins went 4 of 11, but was super aggressive. I don't know if he was like butthurt. He didn't end up somewhere like this after the previous staff had recruited him a decent amount early on. I don't know, but looked impressive. Maybe a guy that could transfer up to a program like this next year. No one else really stood out a ton. Jared Turner, only 2 points. I thought he'd do more. I mentioned Robert Davis Jr., my guy, that I hyped up a little bit here. Went 1 of 7 from 3. I thought 5 of those had a really good shot to go in and should have. And it's just weird. He's the best shooter who doesn't make shots. So that was a little strange to me. Other big name for them is Jordan Battle. He got into pretty early foul trouble in this one, and that kind of sank him. Swanton-Roger finished with 0 points and 0 rebounds. Like, that's almost hard to do when you're that big of a player. He only ends up playing 15 minutes, but he has 3 turnovers, 2 blocks. Maybe playing against the smaller, more athletic front court, quicker front court. I don't know. Is Elijah Saunders more athletic or faster? I don't know, but he's definitely more mobile, and he's going to pull you out on the perimeter. And Solomon Washington is just a hard guy for someone like Swanton-Roger to try to match up with. So not the greatest game for him. They didn't really use him particularly effectively. And it was a lot of times with him in high ball screens, and then he didn't roll. So if he's not a stretch big at all, it was just not particularly well executed for my money there. Scotty Hubbard, a local guy, did well. Drew McKenna, the Georgetown transfer, had a few moments tonight. That was my wife's favorite player on the court tonight. He went to her very, very small high school. So she was excited to see another Glenelg Country Day School alumni out there. So shout out Drew McKenna. But it is not one where Old Dominion had enough firepower. We talked about it on the preview, and I think that's exactly how it played out. XO6910, let's see. Glad you had a good time in the game. Enjoying your commentary. Thanks for the FPT. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, hey, we'll take it. Any Terps win puts me in a pretty good mood, and especially in a season like this. Just being above 500 is cool right now. So Terps, again, 7-6. I think that's a win for us overall. I'm going to flip over to the stats and info stuff from the Maryland SID here, just because I thought there were a couple good ones here. Buzz's breakdown of the game. Thought our guys have been incredibly resilient. Overall, has transpired in the first semester, no matter what's happened. This group is continuing to have a positive trajectory. I think those things are both true. Like, Buzz gets into some philosophical, metaphysical coach speak sometimes, but I think for the most part, he's trying to be honest, and I think he believes those things. And from what we see here and saw tonight, I believe those things. I thought there was more good than bad. I thought we saw enough rebounding in the way they needed to rebound. I thought there was good defensive pressure. They made shots for, a change, not to be negative, but like, they've not shot well this year, as we all know. And I think you shoot 38% from the field with this Maryland group. You're going to have a pretty good shot to beat a lot of groups. Isaiah Watts said, what worked for us was moving the ball, sharing the ball, and playing as a unit, as a collective. We trust in each other. We trust in our coaches, everybody from our managers to our coaches, even the athletic trainers. It was a great confidence booster. 100% agree with all those things. Again, the ball movement I thought was the most positively staggering thing overall here tonight. Again, the Terps finish with 14 assists, held Old Dominion to 5. I thought that was huge. They were just a lot of stagnant play where Old Dominion had to settle for tough jumpers because Maryland was playing good team defense. And I think that's such a really positive sign here as well. And we talked about those turnovers here. Maryland only with 8 tonight. That's something where they've really needed to clean up, and 8's as clean as you're going to get in a college basketball game at this point, especially with a couple guys that are a little flashier of passers or attempted passers. And then Old Dominion had 13. So if you're Terps, you win the turnover battle. Hey, we'll take that. They don't win the rebounding battle, as we mentioned, but didn't really need to do that tonight. And the Terps had 8 offensive rebounds, and the ones that Old Dominion got were a lot of like long, tough jumpers that kind of ended up back in their hands. So it just kind of bounces that way sometimes. I thought they rebounded the way they needed to rebound. How about that? Darius Adams, it was definitely important. He said, we had things we needed to do in order to win this game. We know it's going to be a challenge coming up for us coming up in Big Ten play, and we know we need to lock in even more. Glad to see that they know that. We'll take that. Some numbers to know from this game. 6. Maryland blocked season high 6 shots, which is awesome. 7. Terps utilized their 7. Okay, 7. The Terps utilized their 7th different starting lineup of the season. That is another thing that Buzz likes to do. That is a feature, not a bug. He rewards guys for having good weeks in practice. Nobody's locked into a starting spot. And it paid off, I think. This one you saw the confidence that Watts got from being rewarded for, hey, I put in the work, the process was right, and now it's only a matter of time before it pays off on the court. And today it did, which is great. We mentioned 8 turnovers, which is awesome. With Watts drawing his first start as a Terp, 11 different Terps to start at least one game this season. The Terps also had 14 assists in the win. Maryland had a 17-0 run to start the game, and they held Old Dominion to 18 points in the first half. They're the fewest the Terps have allowed in a half this season. So again, trending up in the right direction from a defensive perspective. The second half was a little worse defensively. Old Dominion definitely shot better in the second half, which don't love to see. They were 44% from the field and 25% from 3. So that's better by comparison, where they were 28% from the field and 20% in the first half. You're just not going to hold teams much better than that. But I thought Maryland was really good overall here. So I'm going to just continue to say, hey, hang your hat on the defensive end, get to the free throw line. Didn't out free throw attempt their opponent tonight, but they made more, which is great. Anytime you can take less free throws and still make more than your opponent, I think that's a glass half full kind of thing there to still finish ahead in the free throws made column. Terps shoot 40% from the field. I still would have liked to see that be better against the relatively small Old Dominion teams. Are not all sunshine and rainbows here on the breakdown, but there are clearly things to keep working on. But this was never going to be a team that set the world on fire from a shooting perspective. So just, hey, make what you can make. I'd like to see them find a way to get some easier shots, especially around the rim. But as we've talked about, again, ad nauseum, I think that's going to be much harder without Pharrell Payne. I am really curious to see what his situation is like. There were some questions in the postgame for Buzz about people's health and status and kept it a little more vague, and he sort of floated his way around that again, which he has a superpower of being able to do. And it's not really much else we're going to find out about it probably until they step out on the court on Friday. So it will be a fun surprise for everybody, our own Knives Out mystery here. So hopefully he's available at some point sooner rather than later. Again, we're going to need him against Oregon. You're not going to get through a team like that without having some kind of size on in the front court here. And even a guy like a Kwame Evans Jr., who's not set the world on fire for them, but is an athletic 4. I think he's going to be as big as most of the guys Maryland played tonight in the front court. So he might even be the 3rd biggest guy on the court for Oregon at times in this game. So I think that's going to be a unique challenge. But hey, we'll save all that for the preview for that game coming up here later in the week. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope everybody had a great holiday season here so far and is getting ready for a great start to their new year. We'll get more into that as we go. Thank you to everybody for the great feedback on the show. I consistently bump into at least 1 or 2 people every time at each of these games that have nice things to say about the show and IMS overall here. Again, I think in the new year here, we're going to see some updates on the overall IMS radio program. I know people have been asking about that, so stay tuned for some more details here. Trying to refresh and retool some things here and give you guys the best coverage possible. So if you have feedback and things you'd like to hear more of, definitely let me know. I want to get more rotation in here from Colby and Jack and Jeff and guys to talk a little bit of recruiting too, because I think it seems like Buzz and staff are kicking the tires on a ton of top guys, and there's a way Maryland can get themselves into the top recruiting class in the country. that's something we want to, champion here on the show. So we'll see if we get more of that going for you here. I know Colby's down in Salisbury at the Governor's Challenge. A lot of the best players in the DMV and even from around the country come in for that one. So maybe that's a great time for an update on just who look good, who are some other names to know for the future. A lot of the young players are showing up in that one. Got to see a couple of the local guys that have become more big time names at that program, from that tournament last year show up this year, and I think that's a great opportunity to hear some early names. So we'll get him on here soon, hopefully, to talk about that for us. Till then, remember, if you're the podcast, if you're the Terps, because maybe we're turning up, maybe, I don't know, some signs of life, we'll take it. All right, check y'all next time.